Hey guys, now this would be the video about SFDX stuff for really advanced level. So I will teach you how to build up your own file with the Scratchwork definition, because it's really something I've never saw written in a good way in any articles or anywhere. It's something I've learned really through a lot of problems and challenges, and I got the idea how it should be built. And I will share it with you, so you will never struggle with that as much as it can be struggling. So let me show you. Here is the example of the file which I took from the Scratch file documentation. So okay, let me open this first. Scratch org file. Yeah, this documentation, so create Scratchworks, and it was provided in here. Yeah, this sample is taken. And now, with the Scratch files, as you should already know by this time, we can enable the features, we can enable some settings, and as we don't anyhow inherit the settings of the production org or dev hub org, we really need to describe anything new what comes. And I was struggling before, so because when I was getting to this setting up this file, I didn't know how to do that, and I was struggling, like, okay, with the features it's more or less clear, but with the settings it's really not. And where do I take them from? What is the list of available stuff? And that's where you can take this. So I have forever now saved these two links. I will show them to you. So the first one is the features. So whenever you're enabling some interesting thing from the Salesforce, like it can be communities enablement, or it can be CPQ, or it can be like field service linings. So something extra that you can normally either contact support for your sandboxes to enable that, or you should really go to setup and click this enable checkbox. That's something what is really all controlled by settings, and half of them are the features, and another half is the other settings. So here the example of this Scratch config file offers us to enable communities, multi-currency, service cloud. Let me just copy this and paste it in here. And I'm also normally using DeferSharing Calculation in here, Multicurrency, state and country pick lists, Customer Community Plus for the Customer Community Plus licenses, and so on. But these are all the names taken from here. And when you are getting new requirement, you should really go through. So the most difficult part in this whole writing of the Scratchwork file is to find what exactly you need, because like you might face an error like some standard field is not available or something, on the standard object, and that means that you need to extend this data model with some feature enabled. So but anyway, so I will probably only dive into this because all the rest is more or less clear, but this one is really good to know, because it solves you the problem of deployment many sharing rules per object to the Scratchwork. So normally if you would define more than one sharing rule per object, you should you will have the failing deployment, because when you deploy this stuff, it starts recalculation and it fails the deployment. But with this DeferSharing calculation stuff, and with creating afterwards extra permission set with deferred permission enabled, you can solve this problem. But this, okay, I should probably put it to an extra video. But anyway, so this is something what can be used, so some features enabled, and then additionally you can specify the settings. And I was always wondering, like, from where these settings are coming, these names and everything. And I finally realized that They are coming from, yeah, let me open this another documentation. They are coming from here, from this setting thing, and yeah, like for example, the most typical one is the name setting. Yeah, so it yeah, you cannot mention it in features because it's not feature, but you can set this in the file directly, and then you can, here when you open this documentation, you will see the fields here, like enable informal name, enable middle name, enable name suffix. So that's something what clients normally ask to have. And yeah, this is how this would be done, like yeah, like this. So enable middle name true, enable name suffix true. By default, all the rest would be false. Yeah. And yeah, so again, so you're continuing to specify this file and so on. That's basically the biggest idea behind it. And the trickiest thing would be to find the suitable setting, the suitable everything, and to make it work all together, because some settings are codependent and so on. But yeah, I will save this file in my repository, and you can have a look at it again. Yeah, so you can check it in Salesforce with Pauline repository, and additionally I will add these two links. So yeah, and it's constant work just to bring up the new stuff in here. Sometimes can be some parameters, like for the number of licenses. So for example, on my one project, I was enabling field service lighting, and those features are requiring the licensing field service like that, so value, and you can also specify some number. This would be like in here, like 3 or something. Yeah, so for example 3 license and so on. So you should check the documentation for that, but that's really more unique situation. And yeah, what else? Something what I learned just really recently when I contacted support, because I couldn't install one package version, actually field service lighting package I couldn't install because there were some really problematic errors and I couldn't debug them, and I contacted support, and they said that the package version that I'm trying to install is of higher version than the org. And yeah, the file was without this line. So when we are defining the scratch config JSON file, the version, the release version, yeah, like from Salesforce, for example, winter 2022, yeah, or I don't know, summer 19, whatever, it will be taken from your dev hub. So it will be created with the same version of release as your dev hub. And what I'm now constantly doing is adding this parameter in here, which is release preview. So there's another value which is kind of default one when it takes the dev hub version, but preview will create you a scratch org of the highest version that is available. So as you know, yeah, as you know, each release it comes like that. First it's enabled on the sandboxes, yeah, like half of a year ago or before or so, and then you're working with it on the sandbox, and on production on live environment, which is normally the dev hub, it will be enabled on some concrete date. Yeah, so and this would allow you to have the scratch orgs also of the latest release. So this is really good comment which solved all my troubles. And also, yeah, what other troubles I had within the experience is this object settings sometime. So sometimes it's not working smoothly with the standard objects, like for example, if you define in lead object file the sharing module private and then trying to push your metadata to the scratch org, it will show you as of now, it will show you an error that you cannot change the sharing model for your lead standard object. Yeah, so that's where you also should go in the settings here in the object settings and add some. Yeah, so for example, to predefine the lead sharing model as private on the Scratchwork creation. Or I had the same stuff with account history tracking. Somehow it wasn't enabling afterwards when I was using this in force up settings, but it was only enabled here. And apparently, but also, for your understanding, these settings are the same settings that we have in our if we retrieve right now some in here, these settings and the rules would be actually totally the same as in here. So you can also add them as metadata in here, and they will be then deployable to the next static orgs, sandboxes. But also be careful, because some things like case settings and email to case, this one, oh, okay, I've pasted in. So like email to case, they will, you don't want to deploy them because they will overwrite their email addresses and so on. Yeah, so be careful with that. But the normal settings you can deploy, like name settings. You will find here the same stuff like enable middle name, enable name suffix. Yeah, you can have them here, you can have them there. That's something what you're deciding later. But some stuff, as I said, is working only here. Like this sharing model errors. Normally for in the beginning it took me really like a day or a few days to prepare the working Scratch config file, but now with this information that I'm giving to you, I hope you will do it quicker, because and I'm doing it of course quicker right now, like within a few hours, just to make sure that everything works. And so that's the whole idea, and I hope it was helpful and you learned something new. Let me know if you know any other cool features, something what you are enabling constantly on your projects. And then have a good day. See you, bye bye.